live. We're freaking live. I normally say that because John's here and now I'm flying solo. Anyway, I'm going to be talking to no one for a couple minutes, but this is all recorded in a way to where I can make clips out of this. So I'm going to be giving some updates. Hopefully some people kind of flow in here in a couple minutes before we bring Vaughn in, our special guest. So we had a huge con this weekend, Infinity Con. John's not here right now because he's on his own business trip, which is pretty cool. He's up in like a resort up in Orlando. I wanted to get him in here, but he's out with all of his coworkers, so he wasn't able to phone it in. Con went pretty well. It was Infinity Con Tallahassee. We learned a couple things, which I might talk about with Vaughn. That way I can riff with someone. John and I already talked about it a bunch, but basically what we ended up discovering is it didn't go super well. It was very slow. So the con itself was pretty slow. And then we ended up noticing that maybe on the last day, some people were already packing up. It was a little rough. We ended up talking to the owners or to the sponsors of the con, who are two indie comic book creators themselves who have been in the business for 15 years. And let's just say we talked to them for a while, and it went okay, but it was a little discouraging talking to them. And I think one of the main issues is they just haven't really adapted too well. So even though the con didn't go super well financially, it still went pretty well when it comes to like learning a bunch. I think we kind of figured out that these larger cons, because it's a pretty large con, these larger cons do tend to be more for your collectibles, your toys, your Funko Pops, your cheap prints that people buy and stuff like that. So I think next year we're going to end up focusing in on, we have a list of like of cons that are built around indie or at least small creators. So we're going to kind of focus on those for next year. It'll probably cut back on our actual conning, which isn't terrible because this year was pretty packed with it. But it was kind of like a shotgun blast of whatever the heck we could get into, we got into, and then we just saw how it went. So basically, learning experience this year went pretty well. Not as well as I would have liked, but everything's a learning experience. So that means next year we have more local cons we're going to be hitting. Probably not going to be going too far out of town. Might hit up a St. Augustine. Just because I heard it's really good for indies, so we'll see. Someone said they made 4K last year, and that'd be pretty cool. So that'd be one we might try and hit up. So anyway, if you're really excited about some of our stuff, because we do have a handful of followers that we made and fans that we made at local cons this year, and some of the more the ones that are a little bit further distance, specifically the big ones like Otaku Fest or Infinity Con. More than likely, you're not going to see us at those next year just because they weren't profitable. It was great meeting you. And I've gotten a bunch of comments saying how much you guys love the books. And that's filled my heart with joy. But we're probably not coming back to those. But there are some around your locations that are smaller, more geared towards indie. So if you really are interested in following us, once again, obviously we have an online store. We have all of our, we're everywhere as well as we can be, but probably won't find us at Otaku Fest or anything like that. We might try and hit up SuperCon next year. We'll see. That one's pretty big, but that would probably be the cap of our large cons. It would probably be that one, and that's it. Everything else is going to be small, indie, local. So anyway, went pretty well, but that was kind of the update for that. We got 3 viewers. Feel free to sound out in the comments. We're going to bring in Vaughn pretty soon because I haven't riffed myself in a long time. So other than like in the shower, so this is going about as well as I thought it would. Let me see if there's any other updates. We have, I had a creator. This is something I want to tell John, but he's not here. So I'll tell you 3 and then Vaughn. I had another indie creator interview yesterday to try and talk to someone about bringing them on for joining BentBox. Really cool comic. As a lot of you know, we're shifting into the publisher space to where we're trying to pick up some of the indie comics that are just high quality, maybe lower on the follower level, not very well known. Will help with marketing and everything like that. Or at least we're trying to. But anyway, I met with the guy yesterday. I completely forgot that. Obviously, doesn't matter for a lot of people, but I forgot that my daughter painted my nails that morning as a like welcome back home dad thing, and I was just being very like this about it, and I was like, oh, I forgot I have orange nails. And I was like, this is very professional. Nice to meet you. But anyway, that went really well. He's not going to make a decision until the end of the year, so fingers crossed for that, because it's a manga and we're trying to get into the manga space, and I'm very excited about it. So hopefully that goes well. Fingers crossed, everyone. He said he loves what we're doing. He says he loves what we're about. Basically, I just gave him the whole spiel of just being indie, creator owned, kind of almost forming a indie collective of just other creators that are high quality, that just make good work, that basically just care about stories, and that's it. So he really liked that idea. Anyway, he has someone who is a part of the Dragon Ball Z team looking at him right now. So I even told him, I said, well, if they're interested and they give you a solid offer, screw us. I was like, I'm just being frank with you. I was like, because that sounds awesome. I was like, you can't pass that up. In Japan, everything. If they don't give you an offer, we'll be here with arms wide open. We will creed you into our arms. So that's what I told him. We'll see what happens. Anyway, that's it. Other than some really cool updates for some of our books coming up, which I'm not really going to get into, mainly because John has a bunch he wants to share. So I think we'll just do BentBox Share Hour for next stream, which will probably be next week. So we'll keep a lot of that close to the chest, even though I do want to show a lot of it off to you right now, but I won't. Anyway, so Vaughn, get ready. Without further ado, I'm going to bring in our guest. We'll probably hang out with him for a little bit. You guys know how the format goes with our interviews. We just hang out. We just chill. It's not super professional. It's not a list of. I don't have a list of questions. I have nothing in front of me. It's just, hey, what's up? Learn about each other, kind of hang out, talk about his campaign, his book that looks awesome. So that's what's going to happen. Hey, we got two more. All right, everybody. Without further ado, Vaughn Coleman.
How's it going?
There he is. How is it going?
It's going well. It's going well. I was just writing issue 4 before this, so that's where we're rewriting, I should say, which I guess writing is rewriting, isn't it?
Yes.
So it was good. It was good. Moving slow, but then I was like, it's taking too long. And then I looked and I'm like, well, how much of the day did I actually write? Okay, this amount. Well, I guess I got a fair amount done in that time, and that's what it's about.
That's not bad. So, yeah, I mean, I have found myself dedicating a day to writing, and I will, at the end of the day, look at 3 panels. And I'm like, well, it was a day for 3 panels, I guess. And then the next day I'll dedicate it for writing, and it'll be like 4 pages. I'm like, okay,
yeah, that's how it works.
A little bit better of a day.
And it's in spurts. It's like hours of nothing. 5 pages.
Yeah,
that's how it is.
And the worst part, I had this conversation
learning to trust the process,
Yeah, that's why I don't force it. I normally do. I like when it comes in spurts, because I had this conversation with one of our other guests where I'm like, the worst part, I don't know if this happens to you, always I'm either in the shower, I'm somewhere where I can't physically write. Like I'm in the shower or something.
I literally stepped out of the shower earlier to go, let me add this line of dialogue. Yeah. I was in the bathroom. I've written some gold in the bathroom.
Oh yeah, 100%. I don't know 100%. What it is about that, porcelain throne, but I don't know. It's just an idea machine. Hold on. All the garbage is getting sent out, and then all the good stuff comes right in.
Go ahead and fix my focus. There we go. It was messed up.
We'll see. Yeah. You're professional like that, because I did see. So you have a bachelor's in film, correct?
Yeah, correct.
That's awesome. I've always wanted to. I've kind of been a movie buff for a long time. I wouldn't want to. I don't call myself a cinephile because it has that level of pretentiousness that I'm not super into. But I do love film and filmography, and honestly, a lot of the way I write is kind of based on screenplays. And scripts in that way, just because I used to write that kind of stuff back in the day. Where did you go to get your bachelor's?
So I went to Emerson College in Boston is where I went. And I went there for 4 years. I did a lot of acting because my friends, every time they needed an actor, they'd ask me. And I liked acting anyway. I took like one acting class, but it wasn't my major. I majored I primarily focused on writing,
Okay.
some directing as well. There was some producing too, but writing is my favorite. You know, I took a bunch. I think like how many writing classes? I think 3, 4, like semester long. I loved writing. You know, so that
Yeah.
was my thing. And it was while I was at college, and there were a couple of reasons to it, right? But one of the things was I for some reason had this itch to just start reading Chris Claremont's X-Men run.
Okay.
Or X-Men in general. And I was told that's where to start, Giant Size X-Men #1. So I did. And I was like, man, they're throwing out idea after idea after idea after idea and all these big budget stories. And it was that, and it was also I fell in love with the medium.
Yeah.
And I started going, I kind of want to do this. I had this idea that I've had since I was a little kid that would keep getting revised and updated and updated and updated and updated, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, let's do this. Let's make something out of this. And now what's great about it is I have all these ideas to pull from when I'm writing a script, and I'm still coming up with new ones. You know, the rate hasn't slowed. And when eventually, if the idea machine starts going dry, it's okay. I'm sitting on a backlog of.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, so,
and you can always just go in the bathroom.
I could always just use the bathroom, go in the shower.
Stuff will come out.
Yeah, I'll be driving on the road when I can't come up with an idea. I'm like, you know, I'm like, I gotta write it down. I gotta write it down.
Yeah.
You know, but anyway, so I'm doing that, and I had this idea, and I decide, no, this is great as a comic. And so I had written it as a script a while ago, and I start changing it into a comic book script.
Okay.
And I'm thinking about it. One of the main things I've learned is the not dilly-dallying when you're doing a script. Get to the point, you know, is one of the things that I earlier writers struggle with. And I'm getting it better at that. You know, just getting to the point. And it's been fun. It's been really, really, really fun.
Awesome.
Working on all this stuff. And I started seeing that there was an independent scene. I started going to cons. I love con culture.
Yeah.
I love hanging out with people at conventions, meeting people at conventions, and yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we got one of our radio stories now. Speaking of screenplays, I realize that comic book scripts are very similar to screenplays, how you write shot lists for films.
See, it's interesting you say that, because I actually, one of the things that really was riveting to me coming from screenwriting when I was turning it into a comic book, I felt it was very different, and I'll explain why.
Yeah.
Screenplays are one of the biggest differences between screenplays and comic books is when I first read a comic book script, I was like, this is so informal. It's so...
Yeah.
So my first job in comics was Hunter Ninja Bear. I was an editor on this book, written by Chuck Dixon. So the first script that I had read was Chuck Dixon's script for the last issue, because most of it was like penciled and inked or lettered or whatever. So, but then I was doing a comic book. There was one scene in one of my earlier drafts that I was translating to a comic book script where someone just puts something in a box and puts it down, right?
Okay.
But I was like, in a script, they tell you not to put shots, not to put anything like that. You just write it out. It's the director's job later, or cinematographer or whoever, to figure out the shot list, which usually it ends up being us anyway when we're in film school. Because we're basically taught that screenwriting and directing are professions, and very few people get to do both. Very few. But, you know, I write that line out, and then I'm looking at the comic book, and I'm like, wait, so would it be open box, put in, close, down, here? I'm like, but that would be like a whole page.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that made me like go, okay, so the way you pace things, the way you tell a story has to be fundamentally different. And I could either go, oh, comics are stupid, I'm done with it. Or I could go, well, let's look at the things that comics can do that film can, because film can do stuff comics can't.
And vice
but
versa.
there are ways comics can compress information in a way that film can't. For example, I was writing an opening splash page, right? And you see my character using his powers and someone else dodging it in one splash page, and you hear a narration caption of, this is how I learned this power, or something to that extent, right? Where, okay, in film, you wouldn't be able to do that at the same time. you know, and like comics are better at narration and they're better at
Yeah.
balancing thoughts and dialogue.
Hmm.
And it was really learning almost like the novelistic aspects of what I like about comics is that it's like a midpoint between film and novels, right? That it's
Yeah.
you can have that flowery language,
Yeah.
but you could also have those visuals tell the story for you.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like I had to change the way, and I think it's made me a better writer. I do think there are similarities to film. Like even earlier, right before this, I was actually I think during this while you were talking, I was like, oh, let me write down like a kind of an angle that I'll add to the panel. You know,
Yeah.
so sometimes I'll put film like close up, whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, it is interesting. The way,
Yeah.
but
See,
the pacing, you have to write out the pacing or
yeah.
tell the artist. It's also a matter of in your writing specifically, because there's no going with the flow on set or anything like that. You have to specifically decide with your artist. That's why I was very particular about getting someone who I could talk to on the phone or I refuse to work with an artist who I can't talk to, right?
Yeah.
Is because it was very much that all right, for these panels, kind of do your own thing. For these, I have something more specific. Let's talk it out. Let's thumbnail it out and then go
Yeah.
with it. Because you can't exactly switch shots in the editor's room with comics. Once
No.
that's the shot that's chosen, so I'm learning to be decisive. And I think part of why my artist even told me, part of why things took so long to draw was because of the thumbnailing stage takes so long because we'd have a lot of back and forth. So I'm trying to be more lax, but I also do think a lot of my changes helped.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I'm 100% with you. When I went to Full Sail University. I don't know if you're familiar with that school.
Oh yeah.
So I went for actually game design. So not film. I used to be a coder and I did 3D modeling and all that fun stuff. So that used to be my passion when I was a kid. My dad was into comic books. I wasn't super into it. I was more into video games. But I did have a semester of screenwriting classes, mainly to kind of develop a script for video games, mainly because you still have cutscenes, you still have dialogue, you still have some form of like narrative flow that has to happen in video games.
Mhm.
So they kind of just allowed us to have that kind of class to teach us screenwriting. I loved it so much, but that's I think one of the differences is that there's also a plethora of ways people write. So my partner
Mhm.
John, who isn't here right now, we had this conversation on the way back from the con. You know, we had a 6-hour drive to Tallahassee, so we had nothing to do but to BS the whole time. But he started telling me, we realized that we never really discussed how we write separately because he's a writer and I'm a writer. We both co-founded BentBox. We found out we write 100% differently. He has like this whole list of like, he basically, if you ask me, he kind of overplans a little bit, but he's very meticulous with everything. I'm a little bit more of that fly by the seat of your pants kind of writer where my scripts are very bare bones. And then I'm 100% with you with, I have to have a like Discord chat or phone call or something with my artists. I do not like sending an email, sending a script, and then like, okay,
Waiting.
let me wait a week. And then we get some vague, like maybe questions back. It's just hard to really get anything rolling that way. So
I'm
the handful of artists
figuring out my process, but collaborating I think is a huge aspect of it. Like I'm learning to be more. I'm trying to be more hands off with like issue 2 compared to my issue 1. I'm trying to be more hands off.
Yeah, I do. I mean, you kind of already said it once. You already said it once where you said like you have a mode of like, I know what I want, which I think is that director mindset of like, hey, I know what I want for this shot. I know it's obviously a panel, it's a page, but you know exactly what you have in mind. And then you also have that moment of going, hey, you're an artist with insane talent, insane creativity, just have fun. And I've told that to, I have 2 artists that I'm working with right now, both from Brazil. And the amount of times where I'm like, hey, these 3 panels, make something cool. I was like, this is the action that's happening. This happens and this happens and then this happens. I have no care about the shot or the angle or how you tell it. I was like, just make your art cool. I was like, that's all I care about. And it has never failed. I've always like went with whatever they come up with, which has been fun. It's a fun practice of like going, I'm very hands off for half this page, which for some people is a little scary, especially if you're very meticulous and you overplan. But I think it's important, especially when you said like a collaboration. When you have two people or a multitude of people like yourself, the artist, the letterer, all working in sync and caring about the project in their own way, and not going like, oh, there's a structure here where this guy's top dog, I'm underneath him, I better make sure I do everything right. It's not as conducive to like a really good creative process. So like that's why I love collaborating. As
when you're having fun, you do better. So I'm trying to be better about. I'm always telling my artists, hey, if there's something you don't like about the way I conduct myself, let me know.
Same, yeah.
Whatever, because But he's been great. He's been great. My artist. He's already back for issue 2, which is I'm going to do 24-page issues after this first one, which I want it to be a giant size first issue.
Yeah.
And it's fun. It's been fun. And I keep going, oh, I have to flesh out these details later. And now I'm starting to wonder if I do with my issue 4 script. I might leave it fairly bare bones.
I like it. I mean, it hasn't failed me yet, but then again, that's a knock on wood situation. I'm sure it will at some point, but so far bare bones has just been helpful because it allows you to also be flexible.
Faster. It helps me write faster. It also, because that's one of the things I realize, if I'm this meticulous with every project I do, I won't be able to do the very things that got me into comics, which is, one of the things you have to realize is you can't have everything. So Chris Claremont was able to come out with all those stories because he didn't own the characters. He didn't own he didn't have to publish. He didn't have to market. He was able to write constantly. Yeah. And he had a whole production team. There is a trade-off now. So I can't publish at that rate anytime soon. I would love to eventually, but I would have to cede some creative control or something.
Yeah.
And I just don't have that yet. My goal is to eventually make it where I can write, where I can be in the creative stuff. I want to expand my company to do other things, but yeah, that's my goal. Work with other artists. I'd love to. I was getting also like, I want to be able to do fill-in issues, kind of like how, because there's so many artists I want to work with and so many stories I want to tell in this world. And I'm like, that's one of the things I liked about, again, that X-Men run, right? Is like, you'd have those standalone issues. Like we're like the one where Wolverine will be on his own, or there's Life Death or whatever. We have someone else come in and you could then it folds back in. I don't know. I like stuff like that.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about, because I think we're in a very similar mindset or space, because we created BentBox specifically for that reason. We were looking at pitching to different places, allowing us to be able to have a higher level of production for some of our, not a higher level, but a higher volume of production for some of our books and our IPs that we were working on, like mine with Artificial and John with a bunch of his. And then we kind of took that step back and I don't want to give up any creative liberty at all. Like just this is my baby. You know what I mean? This is, I love this. And I don't want to give that up, even if it means I'm going to be working slower. I'm going to be grinding harder. I'm going to be putting in more of a hustle. It's going to be 2 years before, I have a handful of books out. It is what it is, but I'd rather do it that way. So like, I think we're in a similar mindset there. What's your company? Tell me a little bit more about it.
So Rebel Oasis Studios is the name of my company. So I started it in August, so it's going to be a year old soon. Unfortunately,
Sweet.
I was really hoping to have a book out within that year. It seems like it's going to just barely... Well, it seems like it's probably going to be at the printers when we hit our anniversary.
Okay.
Is my hope. I started working on this comic about a year ago in terms of production, the actual hiring of the artist. So, man, things have taken their time.
Yeah.
But, I'll tell them, like, for future issues, let's move faster. But I think part of that is growing pains, right?
Yeah.
But
we had, I will say, Artificial, we're a little over a year old as well. So, like, happy birthday to us. We're still babies. We're just starting to walk. Thankfully, mainly because we're a partnership between two creators, we kind of have a handful of books out already, so we kind of like worked really fast there. But I will say we're at a point where we're slowing. So we're kind of hitting that, like, okay, we need to sell, we need to make profit, we need to make money, we need to get to that point where we can produce like in the red, in the black. So that's where we're currently at. Thankfully, I was able to get my stuff out within like 6 months, but then we ended up, the issue 2 of Artificial took 8 months. It took actually longer. I had the flip mentality that you just did. I was like, I told my artist, I was like, all right, guys, first one took 6 months. This one, let's 4 months. I think we can do it. Next thing we know, it's double that. It's 8 months. But I will say it turned out fantastic. So I don't like pressuring people, especially my artists. Like there's definitely
that's
a
a
like,
tough
hey,
part.
let's get this going. But then there's
wanna
also
get
that like
a
quality over, you know what I mean?
I want to get a deadline for issue 2. Maybe I should like consider an ideal. So I'll say like issue 2 deadline. You know what? You know what? I'll do that.
It's good. We had a deadline, but I was squishy with it. I was soft. That deadline rolled around and we were halfway through. I'm like, well, okay. I was like, you know what? Let's try and get, and then I gave it another deadline. And then we almost hit that. But at the same time, I told they were even like, I'm sorry it's going so slow. It's like, this is a very detailed book. And I was like, I get it. I was like, I'd rather be high quality than sped through. That's kind of the beauty of, I think, what we're doing is working at our own pace. And per radio stories, we have a handful of our fans out there. I'm thankful that a lot of them are in the indie space, so they kind of understand. You know what I mean? So your fans will see and they'll be like, oh, it took a year for that book to come out. They won't really mind as much because they'll see it. They'll know that love got put into it. They'll see the quality. So I mean,
was
that's
just writing
what I'm
down.
on.
Hopefully October, I want to have issue 2 ready by, because my colorist and penciler / inker, they just finished the first, and I'm like, October I think is actually doable.
That's not bad, especially because I thought I saw you're hoping to have the first one like kind of printed and ready by September.
That's my hope. Now,
I mean, that'd be killer if you know what I mean? That's pretty quick. If you can turn that, that'd be great.
If I can get it in people's hands, that's my goal. I mean, I already have the first, all 65 pages of story have been penciled and inked. We're working on getting those like credits pages and everything. It's almost done being lettered. We're close, man. We're really close.
So, I mean, we've literally said everything about your comic other than the name, even though I see it's in your your description.
My comic book, should I know you guys use typically Kickstarter, right?
Yeah, we use and that's something that we could talk about as well. Because I wouldn't mind, once again, since this is more of a chill chat, creator to creator. Yeah, if you want to share, I had it up, but I'll let you run.
You can take it. You can take it.
No. You run it.
You want me to?
Because you know what things we need to hit. So, and you can go at your pace. And there's something towards the bottom of it that I wouldn't mind asking you about. So I'm going to add that to stage. All right. So introducing, which I'm sure most of you have already been familiar with this, is Phenomenova.
So Phenomenova is set 20 years after World War III and follows the idealistic son of a war hero who is struck by lightning while holding a mysterious crystal. And he finds himself awakening with lightning powers and lightning speed. And he decides he wants to use those powers to strike out on his own and become a superhero. But he finds himself in way over his head when he attempts to intervene at a heist at a nuclear reactor. So this is like the origin story for who's going to be the main character. It'll eventually be more of a team book. He's going to join the team, but it's like through the eyes of the newbie. But even before that, if I were to just do one issue, I wanted to make sure that this is a solid enough story on its own. And I think it is. He's I was inspired a lot by Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies, the first one especially.
100%.
It was huge influence on me. And so when I initially came with the idea, I was in second grade because I was watching that a lot. And I mean, I wanted to do an origin story, but I almost wanted to do it so he doesn't earn his costume in issue 1. So it's just like a makeshift costume you see in issue 1. So what I wanted to have is that he hasn't fully earned his costume yet. He's not quite there. But what happens when you give an idealistic, energetic, impulsive person super speed is he's going to rush into some trouble. He's going to rush into things and he's going to deal with consequences. And you're going to see the fallout of those consequences and how he has to redeem himself, later on. But it wasn't meant to be. I always say this, in an age of deconstruction and cynicism, I wanted to bring an uplifting story because I think that's what, we really need in the world. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that there's shows and there's comics I read where I'm just like, man, they lost the plot. They lost the. I don't feel good reading a lot of these stories today. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, let me let's go bare bones. Let's go down to its core. What does this genre mean? And that's what it was. So I decided to give him. I felt superheroes are about chasing this impossible ideal, and knowing you may never reach it, but you're going to try. And he has a lot to learn, but his heart is in the right place. And so we have our main cover here. Then we have our first variant cover, which is done by my friend Sukesh Ray. This one is done by the creative team of the interiors. So Philip Cruz
Awesome.
on pencils and inks, Jesse Hagee, and even the letterer did the laid out the logos in this, and even did this box. I wanted to have a cover caption box.
I like it. I really do.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to. And then there's the first variant cover, which is done by my friend Sukesh Ray. She killed it. I just was basically like, do what you want. And she had pitched it was going to be like a movie poster. And she goes, Vaughn, I was just drawing this. What do you think of this? And I was like, run it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And then this one is the homage cover to Final Fantasy VII.
Okay.
So I'm a big fan of that. I've been playing that. I got it. Now I'm finally done with the side quest. I got to finish up the new game, but it's like, I'm also in a creative mindset. So I'm like all these different things. I want to read comics. I want to play this. I want to write my script. And man, this has been great. It's such a cool, cover. I was at the gym once and I was like, why am I not? There's a scene where he's looking at a futuristic reactor. Let's do something. And this artist had already done the day one exclusive trading card. And I was like, why not just have that cover? And I was like, she was a Final Fantasy VII fan, so I'm like, let's bring her back. She killed it on that. She pencils, inks, and colors. And I was like, can you do this? And she went above and beyond with this reactor design. I was like, whoa, this is total. And she was like, oh, it was so much work. I'm like, it could have been a block and it would have been fine.
Yeah.
But what I like about her, it's the same thing with, so my costume, the costume was originally going to be colored black and white. That's how it was designed, or gray or something. And she goes, how should it be colored? And I'm about to tell her that. I'm like, wait a minute. What do you think? She goes, I was thinking this. And I was like, well, I was thinking this. I was like, tell you what, give me some flats and of a few different ones, and we'll do that. And then my artist and I both agreed that her color scheme was cooler than what I had in mind. So the blue thing never was something. That's one of the reasons why I like being a writer and working with other people, is they'll come up with stuff. This next one too, especially when they're also writers. Like, she's a writer as well as an artist. So is my next artist, who also penciled, inked, and colored. She's also a writer. She came up with these drones. Now, I have a massive list of weapons this character has. Never thought of these drones. So I'm now going to implement them in later issues. They're not going to be part of the story. So these designs made their way to the interiors. But so this one, she gave me great feedback. Both of these two had read my script, give me feedback, because they're creators, I respect, and very good friends. And I was like, all right, with her, I was like, what do you want to draw from the cover? She goes, has anyone drawn him fighting the villain yet? I'm like, nope. She goes, I'm going to draw him fighting the villain. Here's my vision. I'm like, go for it. Killed it. Finally, the colors just came in recently. And then this is the trade dressing just came in. Yeah. And I love this cover. And all the variant covers, by the way, are going to be crowdfunding campaign exclusive. So they're all on all three. I'm on Indiegogo, Kickstarter, and Fund My Comic. You could get them on any of those. But they will not be available on my website later. I might print a few extras at a marked up price for conventions if I'm with any of these people at conventions, but marked up price, very limited. So if you want to guarantee you get them, you crowd back the variant covers on the campaigns. Now this one you can get, but you'll also get whatever stretch goal backer bonuses, which we're about to hit our first one. I'll get to that. And then the final variant cover, our virgin cover, by Buzz and Dash Martin. So totally killed it on this cover. He just goes, I have an idea for a cover, because I kind of had my own. And then I go, you know what? No, we're going with yours. We're going with yours. This is awesome. And awesome. Yeah. And
no, they're killer.
My graphic designer who designed the Rebel Oasis logo, and also the corner box art that you see here, he drew that, and he also created it. Because I was like, I need an issue number. He came up with some. Again, I was just fine with an issue number. He came up with this lightning bolt box and an illustration. And at first I was like, I don't know. And then he goes, dude, come on. And I thought about it. I was like, it is different. Let's run with it. So anyway, he goes, I want to do a back cover. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to put something on there. He goes, all right, I want to do. So we're good friends with Dan Fraga. He goes, I want to do an homage to Bloodstrike #1. And again, it was
Okay.
the thing. I'm like, okay, but I want it colored. And then I see it in black and white. And then I'm like, hanging out with Dan Fraga. I'm like, you know what? Let's remove the blood, because even though these characters fought in World War III, I want it to be idealistic and whatever. But I go, we could frame it almost like an old photograph. Let's keep it black and white.
Yeah.
And so we did it. So that's the back cover. So no matter what front cover you get, this will be the back cover.
Okay, cool. I like it. Now, I did notice one thing. The standard edition cover is the only one with that little tagline on the front. Was there a reason behind that? I mean, I like it for with or without, but I was just curious if you were planning on putting that on all of them.
No, I'm just keeping it with that one.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly,
I like it.
I'll make it
specific
to the main cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, they're pretty killer.
Yeah, and then we got the this. So like I mentioned, so the first stretch goal we're less than $500 from everyone getting this as a mini print. This piece of art right here. So yeah,
okay.
So it accumulates across all campaigns. So once we hit 15K, which we're about to, yeah, that'll be something.
Nice. Oh, so it's okay. Cumulative against all of them. Sweet.
Yeah. So everyone, regardless of what platform you backed, if we'll get this with their order.
Yeah.
And here are some of the interior pages. I would love to show more, but they are all done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 interior pages I show here.
I will say the coloring is fantastic, especially that last page. I'm a sucker for like some nice, just monochromatic, just a little blue, No, it's good.
It was one of those things where I kept almost like wanting to overwrite and going, no, that might. And I'm like, dude, what am I correcting here? This is perfect. Shut up, Vaughn.
It's
and
beautiful.
And I was like, you know what? I'm wrong. He's right. Let's do it. And it came out gorgeous.
Yeah, that's great. All right, that next part, I wouldn't mind talking about it.
Of course.
So this is dedicated to your dad, correct?
Yeah. So I lost my dad in 9/11, and I decided to dedicate it to him. It was kind of a mix of a personal and creative choices. I felt like my character was missing something, and I was like, well, I kind of dug down. I looked at my favorite characters, and they're usually some sort of tragedy and something. And I was very vague about the dad not being there, and I was like, well, let's make it definitive. Let's do something about this. Why do all my side characters have it? And I was like, let's pull the trigger. Let's really pull from this in my life and turn it into a superhero story. And I changed things up, but I dug down to the core of what drives me. And I found that a huge part of who I am comes from my father's legacy, and how he died helped shape my worldview. And I really felt like giving my character something like that worked. And it made the story more personal and made it more real. And it also played into my themes of legacy, which were crucial to the story. It was the ideas that, because I later on added the idea that it's set 20 years post World War III, and these are some of the heroes that fought. I wanted to make them shining ideals, and I was like, well, what if his dad realistically would have been a war hero fighting during that, or a soldier fighting during that time? So I decided to make his dad was a war hero, and now he's got almost like this drive to be like him, to be a hero. And again, it's that idea of the impossible ideal to live up to. And I think another thing was, I was like, well, why? This is my love letter to superheroes, right? What about this genre is so special to me? And yeah, it's the bright, flashy colors, it's the costumes, it's the action, it's the lore, it's all of that.
Yeah.
But let's dig a bit deeper. Like, okay, what about it really spoke to me? And I was like, let's go back to the beginning. And, I had lost my dad in 9/11 and I needed some escapism. And I had these horrible people had killed him. And then comes these characters that have personal tragedies, like lost loved ones. And they use that to make the world a better place, to stop bad guys like the ones that killed my dad. And they used it. And that was so inspiring to me, to find this message of you can take this and make something better. And so that really stuck with me, and I decided to use it and channel it going forward.
Oh, that's great, man. And I read this. So he was a firefighter, right?
No.
I thought I said he was a firefighter. Oh no, that's the line I read. No,
my father worked at Cantor Fitzgerald.
Okay. How would you mind if I asked how old you were when 9/11 happened? You were 2.
2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still, yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm sorry for your loss. I still remember. I think I was in sixth grade when that happened. Um, I I remember the day like it was yesterday. It was something. But I mean, it's beautiful adding him in, and yeah, I got to that part in your campaign, and that struck a chord with me, and I was like, this is that's great.
Yeah.
Um, and may I ask, you know, the main character's design
Hmm.
looks slightly familiar to someone I might
Yeah.
have seen before.
Yeah. I've
Was
had
that
this talking
intentional?
about it. I had some people get angry at me for doing it. Oh, this is a self-insert. And if you want to call it that, fine. I pulled from
Why?
it. It was personal.
Who cares?
But what? You'd be surprised. Well, people when people
I'm
people
not
don't like
surprised. You're right.
when people have their targets on you, they'll find anything they don't like.
It's yeah.
You
No,
know.
I know that's the internet for you. It's a fantastic,
Yeah.
terrible place.
Or some people got very upset that I made money. That didn't want me to. That's all I'll say. Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, so I wanted it to be a very personal story, and it came initially when I was in second grade, and it was an idea for a movie that I would star in, and so that look for the character just kind of stayed, and I was like, well, they're gonna accuse me of making a self-insert anyway. Might as well just like pull from the
Yeah.
personal.
Yeah.
I'm like, first of all, writers do that all the time, but it's like,
Yeah.
let's pull from the deepest part, which is my connection to my dad. And the story became, because I rewrote it many times, became so much better once I did that, because it tied in. Not only did it give the story more heart, more personal touch, and gave me a better window into my main character,
Yeah.
personal one, but it allowed me to shape his value system, his worldview, and made the story more personal. It dug into the story's themes, added some stakes, and
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. And like
nothing wrong with that.
it does blow my mind when people pick apart things that are it's just ridiculous to
Yeah.
even complain about. But I mean, yeah. He I mean that what age range is he supposedly in the comic?
It was the thing I decided. He's 15. I went back
15?
and forth because the thing is, it doesn't matter that much usually, but like the 15 versus 14 versus 30, like that actually does matter.
Surprisingly matters, yeah.
But once they're like past the age of 20, it's like,
It's just a young
they
adult
could
at
be
that point. It's whatever.
35, they could be 40, they could be 28. It doesn't really matter that much.
It's all a number. Yeah.
But like when they're teens, it's like, what, you're a freshman? Well, I'm a sophomore, which isn't really a difference, but it's like when he's part of a team of teenage superheroes, I would meticulously, okay, who's the oldest of the group? Who's the most experienced?
There's a dynamic
blah, blah, blah.
there when you're
But
at
you'll
a
see
certain
them
age
later.
range.
Yeah.
Cool. No, that's great.
But yeah, I
And
decided
hey,
freshman, because I was like, let's give him at least 4 years of high school, and if I decide to age him up, oh, time skip, boom.
yeah.
But that
And
way,
then-
I
and
can
then-
at least have one time skip and know it's okay. I have 3 more years of high school if I decide to skip through
There
his
you go.
freshman year, or skip through. Like if I decide to skip the story several months, I still have 3 more years of high school. So I'd rather give him more than less.
Yeah. And then, I mean, you got the beauty of if and when it ever gets optioned, you have your main character already casted.
Well, at that point, I'm not 15.
That's true. Yeah, you mean you got people, you got 30-year-olds playing 16-year-olds on TV shows nowadays. You're fine. You can pull it off.
So.
A little makeup.
I guess so.
Yeah. But no, it looks great. It really does. Are there a stretch goal section? I literally got to the section of your dad and then I kind of like stopped looking. So I pulled back up and I was like, let's just talk about it. But that would be kind of the end of the campaign. Now, what are your rewards if you don't mind going over those?
Yeah, of course. So, well, first of all, there is an art contest, by the way, that ends Sunday.
Oh, sweet.
So if anyone's just seeing it now, it's been going for a long time, but everyone's going now. Make sure you get it. The winner will have their piece included in the book.
Awesome.
So 6x9 mini print for all backers.
And that was that picture we saw up there.
That was the one
earlier?
we saw.
Yep.
Yeah. And then Bobby, who did the back cover, who did the layouts, he will draw this character right here, Golden Gallant. You've already seen a sneak peek of what that would look like on the back cover.
Mm-hmm.
But he will draw a trading card of that character if we hit 20K. And then 20, I might change these around, maybe lower one, I'm not sure. But currently at 25K, we'd have him as a trading card, but I might bump that down.
Okay.
We'll see. If I decide to, but we'll see. I mean, the important thing is getting the book out on time, right? I'm not going to do anything that hinders production.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Cool. What are the how much is it? Let's go to the rewards. People can see what all they get and everything. And then we can have our 27 viewers currently go back it immediately. I'm sure some of you already have.
Yeah, so the rewards. So, like I said, it's really pretty bare bones this campaign.
All
But so
good.
you've got the main cover is $20.
Okay.
Then the variant covers are $25 each. So there's the Sukeisha Ray cover, the Final Fantasy VII Homage cover, the Irene Strakowski cover, the Buzz cover. Then you've got, and these are the old images. They won't let me change it, but you can
Yeah,
see
I
the
know. It's
updated
kind of a
ones
pain.
here.
Yeah.
And then you've got the main cover plus a variant is 45, and basically just in your notes let me know, hey, this is the cover I wanted. Then there's 2 variant covers, a main plus 2 variants,
Mm-hmm.
3 variant covers, a main plus 3 variants, and then there's a retailer tier.
Nice.
There's all variant covers, all covers. Just verify you're a retailer, obviously, if you do that. All variant covers, all covers. And then if you want everything, it's all the covers plus you get a poster of the main cover.
Nice.
And then for 5 of everything, you get your name in the book, and you get 5 posters and 5 copies of each cover, and the shipping comes with it. For the producer
Cool.
tier, you get 10 of each cover. You get 5 posters. You get a free digital copy upon a later release. Like once there is a digital, which I do plan on having, I think on my website I'll do, and your name in the
Okay.
book credited as a producer. And again, shipping is included with that. So those are the insane tiers. If even one person backs that, that's something.
No, yeah, that's great. Awesome. Yeah, and that's not that bad. Specifically for you have 46 pages, you said?
For
How many
I
is
know
it?
I have 68 total.
Oh,
65 is
68.
straight. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's $20 is nothing for 68
Yeah.
pages. So that's quite a steal.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. All right. Well, yeah, you got 22 backers, 20 days to go, but this is just Kickstarter. Obviously, he's everywhere.
Yeah, I'm on
He's
Indiegogo. I'm on Fund My
everywhere.
Comic. And
There you go.
yeah.
All right. Well, that's cool. Oh, you're big. We're big now. All right. There you go. Awesome. I recommend everyone go and check that out. Right now, let's do a quick rundown of your thoughts on all of the platforms. And this is specifically just because we're creators.
Yeah.
And if no one else is interested, feel free to leave. I'm curious. So you're on Indiegogo. You ran something before Indiegogo, correct?
Fund
Did
My
you run-
Comic.
And
Which
how
is still
well that
live.
go?
Incredibly. I promoted a lot. I raised now here's the thing. You have to kind of bring your own audience to Fund My Comic. You
Right.
know. But I got a larger percentage of that. Which Fund My Comic launched and it was where did I put that tab? 1 second.
All good. I have 75 tabs open, so I understand.
Yeah. So there we go. Fund My Comic raised. It had raised by the time it closed 12K. Now here's
There
where
you
we're
go.
at now. I lost some backers because I made some mistakes with the system and it auto refunded, and I tried reaching out to them. I don't think I'll get them back. It's whatever. I just have to keep focusing.
Yeah, it happens. Okay. That's crazy, man. Awesome. So you ran that there. It's currently still open. Is it as like a storefront? Is that how you're doing it?
Yeah, I mean, they're all going to kind of be like that, I guess. And that's why when I was like, I have about 30 days of production left, give or take. Let's go on Kickstarter. Let's go on Indiegogo.
No, sweet. Okay. And then so you have Indiegogo and the rest running.
Yeah.
What's your favorite so far to use?
And then this mini print is a Fund My Comic exclusive. If you decide to back on there, this
There
is
you
the
go.
only platform exclusive. It comes free with it. But
There you
my
go.
favorite, I mean, here's the one I learned most was Fund My Comic, so I'll say that. But Kickstarter has the most people, and then
Yeah.
Indiegogo so far. I mean, it's no coincidence that I'm ranking them based on how much money I made. You know.
Yeah,
But,
sure.
I wanted to go on Fund My Comic because I know the guy who runs it. Indiegogo did this shadow banning thing where you wouldn't be able to search, and I was like, I just don't want to deal with that. I don't want to give them money. I hate that Indiegogo has this automatic tip feature. There's a lot of, but there was stuff I didn't like. I hate that on Kickstarter you have to wait till the last 30 days then put in your stuff. Fund My Comic was the one I just decided to go with. I just you know, I knew the guy and I knew there were people that are going to be backing me no matter where I went.
Okay.
So I decided, well, I'll take a larger percent of that then. and go here.
Okay.
And I knew there were some people that would only, hey, I'm only going back here.
Yeah.
Okay. Especially Kickstarter. And then had some, Indiegogo was kind of last minute decision. I said, okay. So some people backed me on there too.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I've primarily used Kickstarter. We did one Indiegogo as a second chance campaign for our first issue of Artificial. Now, I did something that I've not told anyone yet, so this is a live exclusive. It's not that big of a deal. But during my Kickstarter campaign, I noticed something, and I don't know if you've noticed this yet. Obviously, you've only been 8 days, right? You're running a 30-day campaign.
Yeah, I need to get better with the Kickstarter. Kickstarter has like a totally different audience, I've noticed.
Very different audience. But I did notice one thing. I think by the end of it, for issue 2 of Artificial, I had 0 backers from just discovery on Kickstarter.
Oh, okay.
So like no organic backers. It was all bring your own audience basically. And so what I did was I ran a test. I signed out of Kickstarter, went back into Kickstarter, went to basically comics, and I scrolled for 15 pages, and I never saw my campaign. So I was like, okay. I was like, all right, so I'm far down there. I gave up on scrolling because I was like, I don't want to be here forever. And clearly no one else is finding me. I was like, that's kind of a bummer. Because I was expecting to do a little better on Kickstarter than we did. So what I ended up doing was I ran a secret Fund My Comic campaign purely out of just like science. I'm doing a science experiment at the moment where I ran it for 30 days. I didn't touch it. I didn't tell anyone. It is a copy and paste of Kickstarter of my Kick. So it looks exactly the same. Everything's the same. Everything's priced the same. But I just didn't tell anyone about it. I was curious what the natural organic reach was for Fund My Comic. So basically I just did a test. I got 3 backers in 30 days for like $40. And then the campaign ended and I failed my goal. Don't care at all. It was literally just, I want to know what the difference is. And right there, I mean, 4 is better than 0. So at least there's a smidgen. At least there's a smidge of organic outreach with Fund My Comic that wasn't there with Kickstarter. So I found that out. I'm considering I don't know how it works on Fund My Comic, but I'm considering reopening it back up, resetting it up, and then just basically doing what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like spreading it out to all the different places, but really funneling people to Fund My Comic and hoping that it just gets enough traction to maybe get some organic followers too. Don't know if it will, but that's just something I noticed. So maybe it's worth a test. I don't know how many other people do that. I found it was worth it. Just to kind of sign out and see how long it takes before someone organically finds Phenomenova.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of gives you an idea.
I guess I'll have to check that out. I don't know. How do you do that?
Well, I just signed out. I signed out, didn't have an account or anything. And then I just went to Discovery, Comics, and then
I scrolled down for a bit to get to my book. Quite a bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's something to where a lot of people, I mean, it's been said 100 times over. It's a bit of a saturated market right now. There's a lot of indie comics, which is great. But you do have to kind of fight that depending on the platform you pick. So if you pick Kickstarter, there's a lot of people on Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to bring a decent amount of your audience anyway, which is good. But the organic outreach might not be as heavy as Fund My Comic or maybe even Indiegogo. But it's funny, Indiegogo was the same thing. When I ran it, there were 0 backers from organic outreach. So
yeah, I don't know how many. If I get any backers from organic outreach, we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
But I mean, that's kind of the benefit to Kickstarter, though, is they're supposed to kind of help. The algorithm is supposed to help funnel people and stuff like that. But I think with that saturated market a bit, it's hard to get, top 5 pages, top 10 pages, whatever. Because I didn't even find us after 15. So I'm just wondering if there is a pros and cons to Fund My Comic, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, or you do the shotgun approach of Vaughn Coleman and go all of the above, which I like.
No, I'm going to say Fund My Comic, but I did Fund My Comic for months before I did Kickstarter and Indiegogo at the same time.
That's true. Yeah. Cause your Kickstarter just started and your Fund My Comic's been out for a while.
Been up for a while. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to have to hit up Fund My Comic and give it a shot for issue 2 of ours, but
yeah,
it's cool though. All right, man. I appreciate you swinging by. Do you have any questions, or is there anything else you want to talk about? Do you have any? You said you're writing issue 4. Issue 2 might be out by the end of the year. I'm not going to hold you to it, but you said it might. And then,
I hope so.
so you have a lot of stuff coming. Do you have any other IPs you're working on? I know some writers, like you mentioned. Yeah, like you mentioned, you have 100 ideas in your head rattling around. Are you putting a pen to paper on any of those, or?
I'd love to. Right now, it's all going into this, man.
That's good. That's great.
Thing is, marketing is like most, and notice takes up more time than anything, which sucks. You know,
it's a full-time job.
Yeah. But Land of the Lawless was the first 10-page story I did. It was published in the back of the Tragedy trade paperback, but it was an idea. It was an opening scene, but it was self-contained as a story.
Okay.
I would love to do that as a full comic. Phenomenova, I have plenty of ideas in that universe, but I'd get to those later. But more specifically, the prequel Crusader Corps, because as I was coming with the backstory for World War III, I was like, oh my God, this is a story in itself. Like World War III of superheroes. So I would love to do that, especially if there's enough hype and people are like, I want to know what happened. Go back.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, you got a whole different storyline you can do.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, well, everybody go follow Vaughn Coleman. Make sure you back Phenomenova on your platform of choice, which is really cool. He's just giving you guys free reign over whatever you want to do. That's the beauty of indie comics. You have the choice. There's so much cool stuff out there. Phenomenova is definitely one of them. I'm looking forward to it. So thank you so much, Vaughn, for swinging by. We'll have to have you back on sometime, maybe whenever John's here and it's not just me. I mean, I run the ship every time anyway.
And follow me on, I got my YouTube channel where I interview people. I got my, and I make content. I even do gameplay stuff. Follow me on all my socials to keep up to date with me. There's an email list as well. Go to rebeloasisstudios.com. You can find all the campaigns in the email list. I want to make a full website later, but for now, it's kind of just a landing page. And if anyone is interested and wants to have me on the show, reach out to me on any platform.
Yeah, there you go. You heard it here. And then Vaughn, if you ever want us on, we're always down to hang out. If you need an extra guest sometime,
I'd love to.
Yeah, it's fun hanging out. All right,
reach out if you ever want to come on.
We'll do. All right, thanks everybody so much for hanging in there. Thanks Radio Stories for your handful of comments. We will see you guys next week, hopefully when things kind of chill out a little bit more. But thanks again, everybody, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.